Welcome everybody to the, actually, let me pass it to our chair. Let her welcome everybody to the meeting.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual meeting today. And I think this is going to be our last meeting, and we'll have a break during the summer. And thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you for having your cameras on, and hope everybody gets cool sometime over the weekend.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I captured people as they were coming in. So what I will do is I'll do roll call as we do the consent agenda vote. But we do have quorum here based on who I counted. But before we begin on the consent agenda, I want to open the floor for public comment. If anybody that is not with the Regional Workforce Council has anything that they wish to comment on, we have 2 minutes for them, or 2 minutes per comment. Going once, twice. All right, thank you. All right, Executive Director update. The first thing I'd like everybody to know is that our great chair, Stacy Butler, her term ends in September. She would like to renew her term, but right now we want to open the floor to chair election. So if anybody's interested in running for chair as well, please email me during the summer, and at the September meeting, which will be held on September 18th, we will do a chair election, and that election will be for, or that chair term will be for, I believe, 2 years. Again, I appreciate everything Stacy has done to help us and me over the past few years, and I'm excited that she is interested in running again. So that's the first thing. By the way, feel free to just stop me if you have questions. Since I'm moderating and talking at the same time, I'm probably going to do a poor job of both. So just unmute and talk. The last time we talked, we were talking about the federal budget cut situation, and I gave you a series of updates. I want to give you some additional updates. Both American Job Centers continue to promote workshops aimed at transferable skills and career pivoting, how to do resumes, interviews, things of that nature. And so we've been pushing that out, not just through our normal means, but both the county and the city both have websites or pages on their main websites for the federal workers affected, and that information is promoted through there. So A, it's getting out. B, I'd like to tell you quickly about an event. I don't know, I apologize, my brain doesn't work, and that's on official record now, I guess, since it's being recorded. We had a great event on May 28th, a partnership between Alexandria City, Arlington County, and George Mason University. We held a large resource event at George Mason University in the Arlington campus. We had over 700 people join us. It was a mixture of a resource fair, so a mixture of employers and resources for these individuals. We had a headshot photographer, and over 300 headshots were taken that day. We had some great sessions. We took 3 classrooms and filled them up. We had sessions on how to use AI for your job search. We had sessions on how to start your own business, sessions on wellness, especially mental wellness. There were others, but I can't remember what they were, but over 350 attendants sat through these great sessions, and people learned we had transferable skills sessions as well. So a lot of good information there. We also had a resume review session where we saw over 350 people. I'm sorry, that's not true. No, it might be 150 people. I wish I had these numbers right in front of me.
I'm
150
so glad
people.
it's not just me.
Yeah, 150 people. We spent a couple hours reviewing 150 resumes. I'd like to thank Beth and Marion, who helped us along with our one-stop operator Alamelu, who's on the call as well, and many others. We had about 11 or 12 people uh, uh, reviewing resumes of laid off federal workers and contractors, and it was just a great event all around. It helped a lot of people, and we continue to reach out to those individuals. Also, we're part of what's called Nova Next. It's Northern Virginia Community Colleges um, response to this issue. They're offering free certification training to anybody that was laid off in Northern Virginia as a result of the federal budget cuts. It's a partnership between them, us, and the other workforce board in Northern Virginia. And so we have helped over, I think, about 150 people in Alexandria and Arlington receive free certifications through Northern Virginia Community College. So thank
Wow.
them for that. Finally, last week I was alerted that our region won a grant competition to set up an executive coaching service for this population. So we'll be serving a minimum, and I say minimum, of 100 Alexandria and Arlington residents. We'll be providing them with executive coaching. We'll be in the process of contracting out, procuring to an executive coaching firm to provide this service. So, you know, the people that we see at our American Job Centers, many of them have barriers to employment, others don't. But the people that are being laid off are they're really they're affected at their experience levels, their education levels. Really requires a. Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler. There were a couple of people from DARS that were doing resume reviews, so I apologize. That really need that extra touch, and so we're gonna get that to them. You know, we haven't seen a lot of these workers come into our centers. Um, we know where they're out there. Marissa's going to provide us a labor market update shortly. Um, so is this situation as dire as we were thinking? Right now, I don't think so. But obviously, now we're moving into summer. There may be another round of layoffs. There'll be, the people that took their original packages, those things end in September. So I have no idea what the fall is going to be like. But the good news is I think we continue to be a bit of ahead of the game um, to help support, those individuals that are looking for help. Lisa, you have a question?
Yeah, just really quick, any idea? I know you said you don't see a lot of them coming in. Is there any idea at all what came out of that super successful job fair? And is any or were there any, to sign up for the job fair, do you get to, keep tabs or recontact these people? And then my other comment is I know Featherstone over in Montgomery County was looking at, I don't know, shifting money or handshakes with businesses so that they had almost a hiring first or hire first. I wouldn't go so far as call it a policy, but hire first guidelines for businesses as these people start applying.
Yeah, so let me answer the second question first, and then I'll go to the first question second. Yeah, Anthony Featherstone is my counterpart over in Montgomery County, does a great job. In fact, he was telling me about this great product out there called Google Career Dreamer. It's something that I've been promoting heavily to this population. It is a great tool. Check it out on your own. Google Career Dreamer. You can Google it. Basically, it takes a career search process and get it done in like 2 seconds. But it also takes, let's say you're a monitor at USAID. It'll ask you a series of questions, and then I'll point out all the different occupations that your experience can transfer into and the jobs that are available right now that can get you there, that you can apply to. So we've been doing that. As far as going directly to employers and saying, hey, hire these people first. I mean, there's been some talk about that, but it's hard to. I mean, here's the deal: we used to be in a labor shortage area. Now we're in a labor supply area. Employers are going to hire who they want to hire.
Of
They have the
course.
benefit of hiring the cream of the crop right now. I know the county and city, we've been pushing government jobs to these individuals a lot. I've been to like 6 or so events, and half of my time I've been just promoting the county and the city jobs. So there's not much that we can do there. But, at the end of the day, I've always felt that our job is to build people up and get them prepared so that they can compete for jobs.
Mhm.
It's the getting the job that's the hardest part of it. To me, it's how can we give people as much help as they can. We've probably supported over 600 people with resume reviews. We have had we've had several hundred people go through our webinars for transferable skills and things of that nature. We've had people hit our one-on-one career coaches to just look at resumes and prepare for interviews. I think that they found the resource fair useful for the things that they heard. Um, I do have a registration of the people that registered. Have we
Mhm.
contacted them to see if they've gotten a job? No. One
Mm.
of the reasons is that a lot of these people don't want to give their information out. When we try to we've promoted some of our case management services, and we've asked for information that we're required by law to ask, and they've
Mhm.
been very, and this is a very, very small sample, I know, but people are kind of hands on with their information. So there's nothing there's nothing that
Mhm.
I can do to get that to make that
Mm.
happen. But I guess my point is, in wrapping up my long-winded answers, I just want to try to give people the ability to get extra support so that they can get to where they need to be.
Mhm.
I will say that when I went to the first event, it was at Wakefield High School, and it was held by Congressman Byer. The 1,000 people that were in attendance, everybody was scared. Everybody was upset, and it
Mhm.
was like a mental health visit. In some ways,
Mhm.
it was really scary. I will say at ours, seems like everybody is just focused on getting a job. They were all professional. They were all uh, interested in learning. And so I think that at least from some of the people that I've seen at several of these events, there has been a shift to, all right, let's get the work done. So I'm happy to see that.
Mhm. Good.
Uh, any other questions on that? All right. We continue to support them, and we continue to support the people that we've been serving. Let's not forget them. All right. So let's go into the consent agenda. I gave you the link on the chat window so you can go through the entire packet. I'm just going to go through what's in the agenda. We have our meeting notes from our last Regional Workforce Council meeting and our Executive Committee meeting, and recommendation just approve those. We have our one-stop operator quarterly report for the first 3 quarters. That's information only. If you have any questions with that, just ask. We are submitting to all of you our next fiscal year's 25-26. We have a Title I youth waiver. Every year since I've been with the Regional Workforce Council, we've asked the Regional Workforce Council to approve a waiver so that we can implement our WIOA youth career counseling services internally at the Alexandria Workforce Development Center through the Arlington Employment Center. We only receive about 250, I think about $245,000 next year, fiscal year. There's a lot of efficiencies of scale and shared resources by doing these services at the center. And we're allowed to by law to do this. It's something that I just wanted to uh, bring to the Regional Workforce Council so that you see and you understand what we're trying to achieve. and hopefully you will agree with me and approve the notion of allowing us to continue to implement those services internally. And then finally, in addition to our eligible training provider list, George Mason University, who is already on our training provider list, wants to add a few more classes: certified bookkeeper and freight broker agent. There are jobs in this area that relate to those certifications. More importantly, the university has some students that are WIOA eligible that are interested in taking those courses. And since they check out, they meet state, local, and federal requirements, they have professional skills bought into the curriculum. I am bringing it to you for approval for addition to our training provider list. I'm going to give everybody a couple of seconds, actually, nope, a couple of minutes, sorry, to review the consent agenda, and then I will seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. I am going to go down the full Regional Workforce Council membership list. And if I call your name, just please mute yourself and approve or abstain or decline. Yay, nay, or whatever. All right. Nelson. Aguilera. Patel Aklilu.
Approved.
Thank you. Kate Bates. Lisa Bauer.
Approved.
Brandon Bedford.
Approve.
Joel Bernstein.
Approved.
Patrick Brennan. Dottie Brown.
Approve.
Stacy Butler.
Approve.
Jim Egenreiter. I think you're on here. You're on mute.
Mhm.
All right, we'll get back to Jim in a second. John Gallagher. Kat is not here. Annette Hegray. I think you're on here as well. Dr. Hegray? You're on mute if you're talking. All right, we'll get back to you in a second. Trisha Jacobs. William Lopez. Alberto.
Approve.
Okay. Marion Marquez.
Approve.
Chris Martini. Londo is not here. Eric Pages.
Approve.
Tyler Schriffler, excuse me.
Approved.
Sean Steele. Brian Stout.
Approve.
Tyler Brink.
Approved.
Thank you. Crystal Thrower. Fernando's not here. Monica is not here. Beth Yoder.
Approved.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 13. Jim Egenreiter, are you on the line?
Yes.
He is. He
My
approved.
relationship with Teams is on the rocks. Yes.
Awesome. And Dr. Hagray, are you still on the line?
I don't think so.
Did she bounce off? All right, we'll get back to her when. Okay. All right, so that is that. Thank you all. Next up is our labor market report. And Marissa, joined by Helen. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here virtually.
Did everybody see the presentation?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yes. So I'm joined today by my colleague Helen. We're going to give an update to the presentation that I gave back in April about sort of what's going on in the Northern Virginia labor market today. So if you could go to the next slide.
Okay.
So we're going to start today with unemployment. Unemployment is up year over year. So in April of 2025, it was pretty significantly up from the previous year. So you can see in Alexandria and Arlington specifically, it was up by 1.2%. Compared to April of 2024. So this is not insignificant. It's also up a little bit from January of 2025, so up from 2.6%. However, I think it is worth noting that it has come down a little bit from March to April. Obviously, 1 month does not make a trend, but this is something that we should sort of be keeping an eye on going forward. Hopefully, these unemployment rates will continue to go down. So we'll have to sort of monitor that and see if things sort of come back down to normal. The DC metro area also has higher unemployment rates at the moment than either the Northern Virginia region or Alexandria and Arlington specifically, which is pretty much always been the case. But that is still, I think, a good thing. Our area seems to be experiencing less unemployment than the broader region. If you'll go to the next slide, please.
Do you mind if I do a little bit of color commentary?
Sure.
I love listening to my voice. It's the only reason why I asked. When I went back and I said, this doesn't seem to be like the biggest problem right now. It's a problem, don't get me wrong. But there has been some hiring between March and April. Not a lot, but 100 people that were unemployed in March were employed in April. And so there are people that are finding jobs.
Yes, and that is going to continue.
I was
to
told
be a
I
trend.
need to find the positives and things.
Yes, and that is actually going to sort of continue this. All of this data sort of shows that story, hopefully. So I did pull unemployment insurance claims data, and this unfortunately is only available at the state level. We can't get this specifically for individual counties or regions. And you'll notice that both initial claims and continued claims are a little higher in 2025 than they were in 2024. The initial claims are sort of all over the place, but still higher than what we saw in the early months of or the early weeks of 2024. However, it should be noted that this is nowhere near as high as it was in 2020 in the early days of the pandemic. Unemployment insurance claims were quite literally multiple times higher than they are right now. So that's good news. And I think, the story might look a little different if we were able to see this at the regional level. We might see a sort of greater disparity between 2024 and 2025. But I think the good news is it's nowhere near as high as it was in the early days of the pandemic. So if you'll go to the next slide, we will turn things over to Helen.
Dave, I have a question. Marissa, I have a question.
Yeah.
So on this unemployment insurance, can you go back to that slide? Does it reflect for those people who don't work in Virginia? Do we have the statistic on those folks that are residents but have applied like in DC because their office is there around unemployment insurance?
I think we can only get it for like where they've applied. We don't know. I
Okay.
think as far as I know, the people that live in Virginia but have applied in like DC or Maryland, we won't specifically know that. We can pull claims for DC, but that's obviously going to capture everyone who works in DC and Virginia and Maryland. So this is specifically for whoever's filed claims in Virginia.
Okay.
So
perfect. Thank
unfortunately, we don't have all the data we want ever.
No worries. Thank you.
All right, Dave, if you could go to the next slide.
Sure.
All right, thank you. So regional layoffs. Our analysis focused exclusively on WAR notices issued within 2025. So any notices that were issued in 2024 taking effect in 2025 would be excluded. This just ensures that our data reflects the most recent layoff announcements. Another disclaimer is that WAR notices are only required for private companies. This means federal companies are not required to report any layoffs. Therefore, this is an incomplete picture, especially given the recent major reduction in force within the federal government. So with that disclaimer, let's move ahead into the regional data. So more companies issued WAR notices this year than compared to last year. And of all the counties within NOVA, McLean had the highest employees affected by layoffs at 442 individuals, solely coming from MITRE, and followed by Alexandria in Arlington at 310 individuals affected. And then on the right-hand side, among this list of WARN notices, 4 of the 6 companies were in Alexandria and Arlington alone, with AIR having the highest layoffs in the Arlington and Alexandria area, with 233 individuals affected by layoffs. Another thing to note is that this year's layoffs are predominantly driven by government contractors and nonprofit organizations, a notable shift from last year's largest layoff, which was due to a strike-related event. Although the numbers of companies issuing WARN notices this year was not nearly as high as during COVID times, the scale of employees impacted is still abnormal, with 213% increase in the number of employees affected by layoffs compared to last year in 2024. But not everything is as bad as it seems, so let's shift gears to employment. Next slide, please. So employment in total is up as of April 2025, with Nova at 1.63 million, and then DC MSA at 3.41 million, and United States at 159 million. Although employment continues to grow, the rate of growth in April this year, 1.4% in Nova, is still slower than it was last year. And then regardless, the Nova area experienced stronger employment growth than DC MSA and the rest of the United States. This can provide thousands of additional jobs for the region. So we know that employment is up, but which industries are booming versus those that are declining? Next slide, please. So employment by industry, most notably, federal government employment is down by 4.7%. And this trend extends to other federal contracting and nonprofit sectors, such as management, scientific, and technical consulting services, which is down by 3.3%. Although federal jobs are down, state government employment has surged. This may not be a coincidence. It's possible that some of the growth we see is due to former federal employees transitioning into these state government roles. And something else that may jump out at you is the rapid growth of the mining, logging, and construction industry at 13.3% increase. This is mostly due to the recent boom in construction within the Nova area. And according to the Stephen S. Fuller Institute, our region has seen the largest construction employment gains in nearly 2 decades. This significant growth is crucial as it may be enough to offset the ongoing declines we're experiencing in federal employment in the professional, scientific, and technical subsectors. While it's valuable to understand where jobs currently exist by industry, we must look at the overall demand. So let's shift our focus to analyze the recent changes in job postings. Back to you, Marissa.
Any questions so far? Lisa?
Quick, yeah, super quick. And maybe you're going to look at this. So when you say that that number could replace what's been lost, I mean, you're going to look at apples to apples. Because I mean, a lot of construction, entry level especially, doesn't pay what the federal employees were making.
Yeah.
So
And
I mean, I'm super interested.
Yeah. And it's not a, when we say sort of over, not like one-to-one.
We lost a salary and it's been replaced by this salary.
Like the jobs themselves have
Mhm.
been replaced. Yeah. And so it's not a one-to-one. Like we know a lot of federal workers may not necessarily move into construction jobs because that's obviously like not what they're trained to do. So yeah.
Yeah, no, just the living wage, ability to support family, etc.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So looking at job postings, when I was here in April, I showed the change in job postings from January to March, and there had been pretty notable decreases. This trend has continued, although it's worth noting that the rate of change from March to May is significantly lower than the change from January to March. So overall, job postings from January to May were down by 5%. In public administration, which is obviously where all of these federal government jobs would be, along with a lot of these nonprofit jobs, are down by 58%. But again, the the difference between March and May is much smaller than what we saw between January and March. So this hopefully means that things are sort of flattening out, but obviously we'll have to sort of keep an eye on that going forward. It's also worth noting that the professional, scientific, and technical services sector, which is where a lot of the government contracting and government consulting jobs would be, saw a pretty sizable decrease from January to March in their job postings, but then came almost all the way back up to where they were in May. So there was only about a 1% decrease from January to May in that sector. So that's a good sign, and that hopefully means that there may not be as long-term effects for some of these government contracting jobs. So that again is something to sort of keep an eye on as we move forward. And finally, if you'll go to the next slide, we just want to finish on labor force. So you can see labor force is technically up from April of 2024. It's up by a very small percentage, but it is still, there's still a couple hundred extra people in the labor force than there were in April of 2024. However, we obviously see a huge change in this sort of rate of growth from December of 2024 through April of 2025. And so the change in the labor force has really decreased. And you'll also notice that there's a pretty huge gap between the increase in the labor force in our region versus the increase in the United States as a whole, which is about 2% up from where it was. So there's a lot of reasons that the labor force may not be growing as much as it has been. And, this could be that some federal workers who were laid off may have decided to just retire. People may have moved out of the region. There may be a whole host of other reasons why people are not in the labor force, but the labor force technically is still higher than it was, and it's sort of on this upward trend from the last couple of months. So again, something to sort of keep an eye on going forward. I think the sort of overall theme of all of this data is that things may not be as bad as we thought they were a couple months ago, but we still don't really have enough data to see what's actively happening and what the sort of current trends are. So this is something that I think we're going to have to continue to monitor through the summer and into the fall to see sort of whether things steady out or whether some of these trends continue. So with that, if you'll go to the last slide, we will turn things over to any questions people have.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I do, Dave. I just, sorry, I just had the same question. I mean, for those of us out here trying to figure out how best to serve individuals, either that work for us, to get them up and out into a better career path, or in the community, trying to figure out where the supply and demand are aligned, those golden sweet spots. If there's any way to get these numbers, these statistics down to a place where they're discernible, a slightly lower than the huge mining, which we know is not taking place.
Right.
And then the professional IT, which it's the largest bucket. And so if we could get that even down to 10,000 feet to understand, where is the alignment? Where are some of the occupations and professions and career paths that people should be looking at because there's growth? I wonder, could AI help more than, I know a lot of these statistics, come from, a huge, enormous, ridiculous database that's in codes. I don't know, something so that we could work with this information at if not the ground level, 1,000 feet.
Yeah, and we can get some of that data. So we can see, and I think when I was putting together this presentation, I tried to use bigger buckets just because the numbers were higher, and a 27% growth if there's 5 jobs is obviously not a helpful number. But I know that we have it at a little bit more granularity, especially the employment by industry. So that's something we can look at, and I'd be happy to send you the data that we've got. And it was all pulled from, I think pulled from the BLS. And so we do have a little bit lower of a level. The granularity is very hard to get at a very region specific though. So a lot of this data, and I think that particular data is for a pretty big region because we just can't get it specifically by county. And so some of this is very hard, and some of this may be a place where job postings would be really helpful, looking at what is specifically being posted in this region and what are like some of the skills that they're looking for, and how can you sort of align these skills with the skills that, you know, these unemployed workers have. I realize that wasn't actually an answer to your question, but I'd be
But
happy
it's
to
an acknowledgement.
yeah, and I'd be happy to chat more with you about like how we can help, because I think have some data that might be able to help you um, do some of that more like in depth trying to figure out sort of how it aligns. So if you send me an email, happy to chat with you and send you more data.
Okay, great. Thanks.
We have a question in the chat window. I wanted to ask if direct feedback from affected feds and contractors informed the labor market report. There are several reasons why unemployment claim numbers have not jumped just yet.
Yeah, so none of this data includes direct feedback from affected workers. This is all sort of aggregated data that we've been able to pull from various platforms. There are yes, there are definitely several reasons why, and data just doesn't tell the full story. So we can give a piece of the story, but yeah, this doesn't include any direct feedback, although I know lots of you all are collecting data from people who are unemployed, and I think probably Nova Next is collecting data from some of these affected workers, and so this particular data does not. But I think there is work being done to try and understand like the sort of qualitative aspect of it rather than simple aggregated numbers.
Yep. And one of the issues as to why this is such a, just getting the data is so difficult is that, some people took the package. I can't remember what it was called. I know it was some stupid name. Oh, that's recorded. Excellent. Well, it was a stupid name. And they may not have filed for unemployment. We may not necessarily know. Oh, fork, thank you. Fork in the road. They might not necessarily, have filed for unemployment. We might not necessarily know who they are. So, or more importantly, where they live. So those numbers may or may not be captured. We have people that were laid off, but then brought back on secretly or semi-publicly. There are people that have been told that their jobs are over, but the end date hasn't happened yet. There are people are furloughed. It is. I think in 10 years there'll be nice books written about this labor market situation and why it was so hard to quantify, because we just don't know. We are all working off of data that we're working off data that we think this is the situation. Right now, I think I have 8,000 people that are unemployed in Alexandria-Arlington. It could very well be 3 times that. What we don't have is just people lining up around the corner doing X, Y, and Z. That's good. We have people that are trying to figure out what they're going to do. That is now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. There are jobs, as Marissa pointed out. Are these one-to-one, direct, correlation? No. So some people might find something that is a direct connection. Some people may have a very small pivot to find a new job. Some may have a very large pivot. Some of these people that were laid off are people that are retiring. I know a number of my personal friends from the federal government gladly took the packages to get out. And so are they going to be going back into full-time jobs? No. And so I think the salient point is there are residents in our region that are not working or soon to be not working that just need support to get back where they need to, back into the job market. We don't want to lose these people. We have a great and talented base. We also don't want to create an issue where we have it negatively impacts our economy. And so I think this is something that in 10 years, there won't be movies about it, but there will be, some hardcore, boring books about it that I'll find interesting.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Let's see. Eric.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is there, one piece of data, I don't know whether we can get our hands on it, but if we could look at new business registrations in Arlington and Alexandria, a lot of these folks are going to go be gig workers or gig economy workers. That might give us another look at this. I don't know whether we've been seeing what the trends like that look like.
I hate to put our economic development partners on the spot, but I will. For Alexandria-Arlington, any data on new businesses started?
I can
Sure.
follow. Oh, Brandon, go
Oh,
ahead.
you go, Mary.
I was just gonna say, to get the exact number, I can ask our small business team, but anecdotally, we've seen a big increase in appointment requests for meetings for people who are pivoting, and starting something new, which has been really encouraging. It's meant a lot of work for our team. And I don't think we have like business license data yet on that, but I can certainly follow up with our team. I just know from the day-to-day that they're kind of swamped, we're seeing as a very positive sign.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Similar in Arlington. I think we've seen an uptick in appointments with our small business team as well, and we do have business license data, but it tends to lag by about 3 months. So we don't, we're not able to really. It's not super helpful at this moment. At least for January and February. I don't think I've looked at March yet, but January and February it looked pretty consistent with other months. But it is exciting to see a lot more attention with the small business team.
Thanks. Any other questions about this presentation? I do want to put Marion on, put her on the spot again, just because, I think
I'm unmuted. I'm ready to go.
I think so. Hey, we got 2,700 new workers coming to Eisenhower. Maybe. HUD moving into the NSF building. That seems like that's a good thing.
Yes.
Any thoughts?
Yes, the official line is we are very, very happy to welcome HUD to Alexandria, and we are very committed to keeping NSF in Alexandria. It is unclear at this time, I'm sure for anyone who's read the press releases, it is unclear what is happening with I think we have about 1,800 NSF employees at that building. So more to come on that, but that neighborhood in Alexandria is our kind of federal neighborhood and has PTO there as well. And so yes, it is a positive thing. We would have loved to have more advance notice and coordination on that, but we did get some very, very not very advanced notice work from the state, and it was an interesting day yesterday. I'll say that.
Any news is good news these days.
Yeah. Jobs are jobs.
Thank you. Apologize for putting you on the spot.
That's okay. I was expecting it earlier, actually. So
someone said something that triggered a thought, and it's like, all right, I better ask. We are not going to go into first of all, thank you, Marissa, and thank you, Helen. Really appreciate it. Do I have permission to put this on our website?
Yeah.
Perfect. It'll go on our website. We're running out of time, so I'm going to move the last agenda item, our position statements up to September. It's fine. I do want everybody to take a look at it though, just to go over quickly. we really haven't had anybody say that what we currently have is wrong. But just about everybody I talked to said it still holds up. We did have one suggestion, and it was from Eric. And I kind of restated what he and I were talking about, to include supporting additional funding to assist with the reemployment needs of residents affected by the federal budget cuts. Simply, a very kind of general statement that could apply to a great many needs that might come up in the General Assembly. My wish is everybody takes a look at this, and at our next meeting, we'll go through it, see if anybody has any additions or subtractions, and then we will review it, approve it. I will get it to our General Assembly liaisons so that they can use it when they are doing their thing in Richmond. It's 9:23. Don't know if anybody has any parting words. I'll open the floor for a couple seconds for that. Once, going twice. Can I get a motion to close?
To close.
Motion.
Awesome. Well, I wish everybody a great 4th of July weekend. That's next week. The Red Sox are playing the Nationals at National Stadium. I will be there 2 of the 3 nights. I hope to see people there. I hope everybody has a great time, and we will reconvene in September. I'll be sending out calendar invites for the meetings for the next FY at some point in the next week or two. Thank you, everybody.
David,
So
looks like
raise
someone.
your hand.
Thanks, everyone.
I mean, Dave Alabay has a question.
Great holiday.
Her hand.
Folks on